From LALATE headquarters in Santa Monica, this is Afternoons LALATE.
It's a big afternoon with breaking news as the Federal Reserve announces a 3/4 basis point increase for the June FOMC meeting minutes ago. The latest comments from Jay Powell said just within the last 5 minutes they're breaking, and he gives us guidance on where this economy is going, where it's been, and what's the next stop on its track. We'll have the latest breaking news from Washington and Wall Street as well. As Wall Street's actually trading up on the news, happy that there's a 3/4 basis point increase, but is there more trouble on the horizon? I'll have the latest details on that in today's recording. The great news is that there's a forced stimulus check in every U.S. state, and you need to get it today for June 15th, 2022. That forced stimulus check has landed since March, and I've been getting it for viewers since March. It's upwards of $80,000. You deserve this money. You need to get it right now. Why? Because this economy is going to be a lot worse by September. That's what I call phase 2. We're currently in phase 1 of the downward spiral of this economy. And by phase 2, it's going to be a lot worse. Step 1, go under this video right now and subscribe. Step 2, become a member. And step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday to get that incredible series of forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state. We started today with other data as well, and we're going to be going over that data. Additionally, why it's likely we're going to recession, why my analysis on this channel has been correct. I'm going to do 3 things in today's video, as I do in every video. I'll tell you where this economy is today, where this economy is heading, and what means of money I got for you to grab. Yes, I got big checks for you to grab later in this recording. Meantime, we have the latest details of why Jay Powell's attempt to get inflation down is ultimately going to send you into recession, and why Wall Street actually liked today's news. Very complicated analysis, but across the board, we have another breaking news story that was unearthed last night on Evenings LA. Your benefits are going up. SS benefits, SSA, VA, RB, retirement benefits are all going up. I'll explain you the calculations and the breaking news as all of this is now added in an enhanced newsletter for my members, especially about your benefits. It's coming up later in this recording. Stay with me over this 1-hour broadcast. We got a lot of money to go over in the breaking news comments from Jay Powell minutes ago. It's America's most watched show at the midday. It's Afternoons, and it starts right now. And good afternoon, everybody. I hope you're having a very good day. It is midday here on June 15th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Hope you're staying cool. It was cool here this morning, and it's now hot. It's hot because inflation's hot and recession's coming across the sea, heading to landfall by the end of the year. We're going to go over that later in this recording, but I'm going to start, of course, with the breaking news. It happened exactly as we thought it would. Jay Powell just had his major press conference after that announcement of the June FOMC meeting of the Federal Reserve minutes ago. And yes, he's doing a 3/4 basis point increase for this June FOMC. First, I'm going to go over the analysis, then I'll go over the projections and also the reaction. Jay Powell's Federal Reserve announced just within the last 3 minutes that it will be a 3/4 basis point increase for today's June FOMC. This is exactly as I had predicted and Wall Street had predicted, so no surprises here. He did not give guidance about the next FOMC meeting, but he did say rate hikes are continuing. He didn't say how much. Analysts and myself both agreed that it's going to be 3/4 today, which it was, 3/4 in July, which we think it's going to happen, and then half in September, there's no August, and then half in October, followed by potentially a quarter. Now, Jay Powell explained why he did 3/4, which was fascinating. It was exactly like I said this morning on Mornings LA Today, live on air. I said the reason why Jay Powell's going to do 3/4 basis point is because that Friday number of the consumer price index was a shocker, and it changed everything for this economy. It's consumers, it's consumer confidence, your money, and everywhere across the board. And he basically said the same thing. He said we were going to do a half basis point until we saw that CPI read, the Consumer Price Index number, which gauges your spending as the consumer for the month of May, released last Friday. He said it was too high. It was too high, so we had to quickly move. And we decided to move quicker rather than slower. So we came in at 3/4 of a basis point increase today to battle inflation. Inflation's running hotter, he said, than we thought it would. Now, analysts asked him during the presser, why did you do 3/4 and not 1.0? Why did you do 3/4 and not half? And how about going forward? This is where it got interesting. He basically says we're data dependent upon the data at the very moment, that we have to pivot sometimes very quickly, and we rather come in quicker rather than later. The reaction was positive. Wall Street traded up on the news, with many stocks up 8% right after the announcement, and the Dow generally trading up about 300 points when the announcement came of 3/4. Why was Wall Street excited? Wall Street excited because they thought if Jay Powell moved too slowly, it shows more problems coming out of the Federal Reserve. If Jay Powell came in more aggressively, it shows better, and it shows that 1 point was off the table. 1 point would have really spooked a lot of people. Now, let me give you my analysis of the situation across the board. Jay Powell is trying to regain confidence of the American people quickly, but it's not going to work. Let me tell you why. Jay Powell and the Federal Reserve really got it wrong last year, as yours truly got it right, and very few other analysts. I said that inflation was going to come in at 8% in December 2021, and Jay Powell said it's going to be 2 to 3%, and transitory, temporary. It wasn't temporary. Then he said, I'm going to do a 1/4 basis point in the spring of this year to bring it down quickly. I said it's not going to work, because the supply chain disruption right now, or at least in March, was causing inflation, and Jay Powell does not have tools to bring it down. Today, he addressed that supply chain disruption, and he says we got to do what we can do. Analysts immediately repeated what you and I have been discussing. The reason why inflation is so high is predominantly price of goods at the supermarket and gasoline. That CPI, that Consumer Price Index number released last Friday, is dependent upon those type of numbers, like gasoline and food. If Jay Powell has nothing to get the price of gasoline down at the Federal Reserve, then gasoline is going to be higher in a month from now, higher in 2 months from now, and then he's going to keep on raising interest rates, and gasoline is going to keep on going up. Yeah, what's going to happen? You're going to go in recession. So the growing consensus of the American people is that Jay Powell is going to send you into recession, because he cannot get gasoline prices down by raising interest rates today, July, or thereafter. It doesn't work. And that was part of the analysis all this afternoon. But Wall Street for the moment is happy because Jay Powell did something that makes sense in his life, doing 3/4 and not half. If Wall Street had seen half or 1/4, they would have really tanked across the board. Here's what you need to know. This economy is going to be really bad in 3 months from now. It's going to be really bad by September. That's what I call phase 2. We're currently in phase 1, phase 2, phase 3. What's the difference? Let me explain to you right now. Phase 1 right now is the pivot, the whiplash, the twist and turn from the good times of February and January 2022 to the horrific times of September 2022. It's going to be very abrupt. And a lot of people that don't understand it's happening are going to get whiplashed. And I'll give you examples right now. Individuals who are employed, who think their job has stability, as Wall Street analysts incorrectly said to them about a week ago. I don't see any layoffs, they said. Wrong analysis. Those individuals think that they have job security and think if they're laid off, they can go next door and ask for a salary raise. Incorrect. Hirings of non-farm payroll are way down. They were less than half of what Wall Street expected in the latest read that came out last week. Number 2, the number of new jobless claims is surging out of control to the highest levels we've seen since right before the start of the pandemic. 240,000. We'll see the new number tomorrow morning, live on air on Mornings LALATE. Number 3, the number of continuing claims is really high. And number 4, Americans now do not generally, in my opinion, understand that all the wonderful unemployment benefits of 2020 don't exist anymore. So if you're laid off today, you think you can get a job next door and get a hiring raise and a hiring bonus? Not going to happen. And then if you think you don't get it, then you can go get some FPUC, doesn't exist. PUA, doesn't exist. PEUC, doesn't exist. Yeah, that's the whiplash I'm worried about for the American public. Now, when that CPI read came out on last Friday, consumer confidence fell to its lowest levels since the start of the pandemic, with the consumer believing we're currently in a recession. This is also a big problem because as we are currently in phase one, this is the least of the three stresses of this economy. The worst will be phase three. It gets worse as you go from 1, 2 to 3. And if Americans believe this is the worst it's going to get, oh boy. The unemployment situation continued to unravel even throughout today. Yesterday, we had Coinbase announcing that 18% of its layoffs are broad stroke, announcing 18% of its entire workforce gone. That, of course, is the major company that does crypto exchanges across the board. We also had Tesla announcing 10% layoffs about a week ago, and then expanding into Singapore, then announcing a hiring freeze. It continues to grow. Here are the other industries that are going to get whiplashed by this market, by this economy. In phase one, the downward spiral from now to September. The home builders, the auto industry, and the airlines are all doing the same ridiculous thing at the same time, and they're going to lose their shirt over it. What are they doing? They're basically thinking they can price this situation right now in June 15, 2022, like it's February. What are they doing? Home builders are raising the prices of homes because the material costs are higher, the labor costs are higher, and say, you know what, everyone wants a home, I'll just raise the price. The homes aren't selling. Homes aren't selling. No one's going to pay a higher price for a home than it was in February, and now they can't afford it. The average American buys a home with a mortgage, and the mortgage applications are down to their lowest level in 22 years. Because even before Jay Powell's announcement minutes ago, the mortgage rate surged out of control from 3% to 5.5%. Now with 3/4 this month, 3/4 next month, and then half, you can expect a 6% rate for mortgages. No one's going to buy a home on a 6% mortgage rate. The National Home Association of Home Builders, in a new statement released today, obtained by LA News, says that builders' sentiment, this is the builders, that their sentiment on the building market is the lowest we've seen in a long time, down 6 consecutive months. That's the sentiment among the builders. Well, hopefully that reality check kicks in because they cannot keep on pricing the house higher, and that is going to send them into a boom and a bust, a recession. The auto industry, same situation. Want to have some fun? Go on your local auto dealership locally and look up the used cars. They're raising the price on the used cars higher than they did even February because they think you're going to buy. You're not. You don't have a car loan you can afford. Guess what's happening? The auto sales are dramatically down 70% year to date, and we're not just done there yet. Travel is also hitting that problematic issue as well. Airlines are now reporting bookings on airfares down 3% month after month, as Americans said, you know what, I'll pay $500 to travel round trip U.S. domestic in the United States to take a Memorial Day weekend because I was on lockdown for 2 years. I need a break. I owe it to my family. But I ain't going to pay $500 a kid for my 4-person family every time I travel the rest of this year. We can't afford that. They're not doing it. And that is why the airlines industries are reporting down numbers on the bookings. Now, yesterday, the producer price index were numbers released. It's the sister or brother to the CPI. It's for wholesale numbers, how much the wholesalers paid for the products. And those were out of control, up 10.8%. They were not part of Jay Powell's analysis today. Now, what did Jay Powell really give us guidance on? That he was really moved by the CPI number. This is a big one because generally the Federal Reserve does not react based upon the CPI, they act upon their PPIE number, which is a very unusual number. They react to the CPI number. They believe that was the indication of inflation. Now, here's where I'm going to differ from analysts. Analysts believe that the Federal Reserve ran the analysis today based upon the CPI, but that the American consumer's rage is gauging inflation based upon the price of gasoline at the pump. I got to tell you that the two numbers are mirroring one another because the CPI is dependent upon the price of gasoline at the pump. So if that price of gasoline continues to go up, then what happens? And this is what you got to prepare for as we go into September. You got to get that fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state because this is what's going to happen between now and September. Unemployment claims going to surge, number one. Mortgage rates are going to grow dramatically. Housing is going to bust. Auto is going to bust. Airlines are going to bust. And then you're going to have all these other parts of the swath of the economy that are not going to do well. Inflation's going to stay high. The supply chain disruption is going to stay at issue. And the gasoline prices are going to go higher as well. While oil has been up, generally oil shares and tech has been down and retail has been down, Treasury yields continue to surge out of control. And Treasury yields are sort of dependent as well upon gasoline because if Joe Biden wants to expand gasoline production, the Treasury yields must be normalized. They're not. They're at the highest bench point of 10 years. Nowhere in this discussion of this broadcast does this story fit, but I'm going to put it right here. The path to getting the Build Back Better Act done, or a version of it, revolves around maintaining control of the Senate. And maintaining the control of the Senate is dependent upon the midterm elections, and that's dependent upon the Georgia Senate seat. But Herschel Walker, the Republican nomination for Georgia, challenging incumbent Raphael Warnock, has a love child, which he has not acknowledged publicly until a scandal article was published in the last 24 hours. The Daily Beast reports that Herschel Walker has a 10-year-old child that he has never publicly acknowledged until that article was released. And this is troubling for Walker because he had previously called for the importance of child support and fathering of children and acting as a good parent and acting in a particular way. It's in contrast to his comments. The Federal Reserve, how strong will be doing these movements thereafter? Well, companies like Goldman Sachs believe 75 today. They got it right. 75 in July. We're off in August. I'm not off in August. They are off in August. The Federal Reserve, and then half quarter. I believe that's correct. But here's the problem: is that the Federal Reserve fully admits that today's number was dependent upon the CPI. Correct. And that CPI is dependent upon gasoline. Also correct. So if you go through this analysis with me right now, let me explain what's going on. This channel is three things. I tell you where the market is, where we're going, and how to get money. How to get that money. Those stimulus checks in every US state are coming up in the second half of this recording. But let me tell you why the Federal Reserve may be really hitting hard come September as we start phase two. If the Federal Reserve today is saying I'm so dependent upon that CPI number and it's dependent upon gasoline and the gasoline is not coming down, then that CPI in September could be out of control. Let me tell you where we are. Currently, as we spiral downward and contract as a U.S. economy, we are not in the worst situation. September is that situation, the next to worst situation. September will mirror the very first day of the lockdown of March 2020. And when September hits, it's going to be severe. The great news, as we're one family, one loving family, the Purple Power community of similar-minded individuals who are educated and motivated and inspired and pouncing at every check that's available, we have an advantage this time. Why? Because we have an advance notice. We have a leeway, we have a headway against the looming event. The looming event is the hitting of this market very badly in September 2022. I'm telling you on June 15th, I've been telling you for the last few months, by September, it's going to be really bad. And unlike March 2020, where you're announced to go on lockdown overnight, now you have an opportunity to get things in order ahead of time. When that lockdown hit, you almost lost your home, you almost lost your business, you almost lost it all because there was no lead time. Suddenly you're on lockdown. This time it's different. You have a long lead time, and that long lead time should not be a long wait for you either. That means you want to get these four stimulus checks today, not 5 weeks from now, not 5 months from now. I had one viewer who's a member who reached out to one of the volunteers last night, two-month member, and said, I just started making phone calls yesterday. You've been a member for 2 months, and you waited 2 months to make phone calls? Folks, you can't wait 2 days. You gotta pounce. Why? You need this money right now, and then you need to get more money on top of that, and you get more money on top of that. You need to get money every single day, and you need to watch every video every day because you need to know where this economy is going. Let me tell you what you got to do. You got to grab every check that's available every day and keep on pouncing and getting money every few days, and you need to watch every video every day because otherwise you're not going to know where this economy is, and you'll think it's February when it's June. You'll think the situation of June is going to be June when it's September. And then you'll worry that September is January. What's January 2023? That is phase 3, and that's the recession. The recession will be unlike anything you've ever seen in the history of this channel. It's going to be horrific. It's the worst thing you're going to see of a generation. And that January 2023 will be months after several FOMC hikes. So we're going to have this hike today. We're going to have July's hike, and then we'll have the September hike. We don't have an August, remember. Now, those three hikes actually will be playing out interesting for a major story I have for you in the second half. Your benefits checks are going out. Your benefits checks, if you're on SSI, SSDI, Veterans Benefits RB, or something similar, are all going up. It's confirmed. I'll go over the analysis with you in the breaking news about this and the newsletter. It's big news. It's great news. It's coming up in the second half. Let me tell you why I'm worried about other things between now and even July. Our country is dependent upon the financial stability of the Western allies, because if they go in recession, we go in recession. If we're in Crayollaville and dancing beautifully with a bunch of crayons in our hands, and then suddenly Italy muddles into the muddling sea of teal, then we go into the sea of teal. I don't know where that sea of teal is. It just sounds wonderful, doesn't it? No, it sounds horrific. You don't want to drop into a sea of teal. So what's at issue is you need to make sure that all the Western allies are stable. And today we know they're not stable. Bank of England announced minutes ago that they believe that England's inflation will jump to 10% by the end of the year. 10% inflation. Ouch. How high is the inflation right now? It has now jumped to a 40-year high at 9% right now. Oh boy, this is big problems. And the sterling has surged 10% year to date against the dollar. Wow, this is major problems. Other countries have been reporting major problems as well, and those other countries include everything from Italy, where their 10-year bond yield has rose 4% to a level never seen since 2014. Runaway inflation, some countries like Germany and Italy, and other countries in the South Pacific, also major problems, as the Hang Seng, the Japan Nikkei, the Korean Kopsi, all struggling this week as well. The takeaway is that a forced stimulus check is in every U.S. state. You gotta get that check. You cannot play games with this across the board. About a week ago, I changed the narrative on this channel, and thank God I did. The narrative changed as accordingly. I'm going to show you right now. What I said was that the way this economy is going to get so bad from where it is right now to September, that anyone can financially afford not to get the forced stimulus checks in every U.S. state, to hold out for something other than that. I don't know what the other thing is you're holding out for. Maybe you're holding out for Build Back Better Act. Maybe you're holding out for some crazy thing someone told you somewhere that you hope it's going to come. You can't hold out for something else, because the downward spiral of this economy is going to be so severe between now and September that you got to get this money. The great news is that you're watching this channel. The great news is you're ahead of the ball. The great news is that this is June 15th, 2022, and you have a leadway. You have a leadway to get the money now to be financially independent before September hits. With forced stimulus checks upwards of $80,000 in every U.S. state. Imagine how $80,000 would pay your bills between now and the end of the year. Probably pay your bills maybe a year, and then get checks continually across the board. In the second half of this video, we're going to go over those incredible checks one at a time. But first, I want to turn to some other breaking story, which is very important in view of what happened with Jay Powell. With Jay Powell saying I'm dependent on that CPI number, and why it tracked at 8.5% last Friday. A higher read for inflation is basically what that CPI said. This is interesting because that CPI number is dependent upon gasoline. It's dependent upon gasoline. And the only guy who can get gasoline down is not Jay Powell. You're looking at him here. His name is Joseph Biden. Joseph Biden and the Western allies, Germany, France, United States, Italy, all those leaders, they are the only people who can get gasoline down. Where do they get gasoline down? How do they get gasoline down? They get it down by buying gasoline from 5 possible countries. And those 5 possible countries are the only way to get gasoline down. They've known they have to buy gasoline from those 5 countries since October of 2021. When there was a threat of 100,000 Russian troops at the Ukrainian border before Halloween of last year, everyone knew that gasoline could be the trouble of 2022. It became the trouble of 2022 in March of this year, when Putin invaded Ukraine. When Putin invaded Ukraine, immediately gasoline went up. Why? Because an embargo of Russian oil was about to follow. That Russian embargo has happened. What is an embargo? It means their oil, Russian oil, is not available in the supply chain. How much of it? Well, if you include that plus the reduced OPEC plus capacity, it's 3.5 million barrels of gasoline missing a day. So the Western allies, all these countries, including the United States, need to get gasoline from somewhere else to replace the missing 3.5 million barrels a day. They've had to since March. And what are their options? They got 5 options. Have they pursued any of the 5 options? What's the update today? The update today, as of June 15th, 2022, is the U.S. has killed all 5 options. So there's nothing left. There's no option left. What is the president doing? In the last 24 hours, you've had Jay Powell talk about reducing inflation by raising interest rates. It doesn't work that way, Jay Powell. It ain't going to work. And you had Joe Biden yesterday telling the American people that he's going to solve the situation of gasoline by name-calling out the oil executives of America. That doesn't do anything. It doesn't do anything. All it does is just sort of trash talks people. Trash talking people doesn't get you a solution. I mean, when does it ever get you a solution? Let me explain to you what's happening and how serious it is. The current price of gasoline at the pump in the U.S. at AAA national average is about $5 a gallon. I believe it's going to go $10 a gallon. Yes, $10 a gallon. And can you afford $10? Absolutely you cannot. Of course you cannot. And that would be 185 international Brent crude. That is a number that a lot of the analysts believe as well. Why do I believe it's going to go there? Because of the 5 possible options, the president has torpedoed all 5 of them. With 3.5 million barrels of gasoline missing per day for all the Western allies, you got to get it for all of us. You can't just buy us gasoline because the gasoline prices are an international number, not a local number. Then if you don't get the 3.5, where do you get it from? Well, you can't get it from the oil executives in America. Joe Biden has been lambasting the oil executives in the last 24 hours, calling them out by name, saying you need to increase production. I don't know what's going on here, but all I can say is Joseph Biden needs to fire all his economic council members. If any one of his economic council members saying that the Texas oil producers can push out 3.5 million barrels of gasoline a day, they need to be fired. Because nowhere in the U.S. capacity, even if they did what Joe Biden is telling them to do, increase capacity, which they said they would do, nowhere are they able to push out 3.5 million barrels a day. They can push out a couple 100,000. Keystone Pipeline, reopen that, it's not going to be 3.5 million barrels. Anyone with a brain screwed on knows that going after the oil executives, ExxonMobil, and saying, give me 3.5 million, ain't going to work. They don't have 3.5 million, even if they increase production per the president's request. So, what are the options? The 5 options the president refuses to ever mention, literally does not mention them by name, as though it's, it's something you just don't want to acknowledge that you have. The 5 items that the president doesn't acknowledge that exist are Venezuela. Venezuela is the biggest oil producer, and the White House has excluded them from recent conferences like the one here in Los Angeles last week. Same thing with Brazil. Number 2, excluded them as well. Number 3, Iran. A potential deal negotiated in April and May fell apart. No reason why it wasn't done, but it's not done. It's gone. And finally, the last 2 options, OPEC Plus and its individual member, Saudi Arabia. They all could do 3.5 million barrels, and the White House is sending Joe Biden to Saudi Arabia next week. But last week, Joseph Biden was asked the most important question, perhaps of 2022. Are you going to Saudi Arabia to get some oil? I am not. Well, if you're not, 5 options are all gone. There's no 3.5 million barrels. We don't have 3.5 million barrels in the ground, no matter what we do when ramping up production in the United States. Yeah, this is a major problem, folks. That means the gasoline will surge out of control. That means the gasoline is likely to go $10. That means the consumer price index number from last Friday, the CPI, which was 8.5% last Friday, up from 8.3% the month before, would likely keep on going up all this summer long, despite how much Jay Powell wants to get it down by raising interest rates. See how this all goes back to a simple solution and not doing the solution? By not getting one of those 5 countries to push out 3.5 million barrels for us to buy per day and the Western allies, then the CPI is going to rise up, inflation's going to rise up, Jay Powell's going to raise interest rates, and guess what that's all going to do? Go right into recession. Jay Powell's going to push you into recession because he's going to be chasing that CPI number, trying to bring it down, and he's not going to be able to bring it down because he can't pump out oil. He probably can pump out some nonsense or some stamp comedy lines, but he cannot pump out oil. And if he can, then get ready for a very bad 2023. It's called recession. And recession potentially would get rid of inflation, get rid of consumer confidence, spending, and everything else. Who knows what it's going to do with stimulus? And that's why you got to get the fourth stimulus check that is every U.S. state. We're going to go get that check in the second half. If I've not made it clear to you now, I don't know when I'd make it clear to you. That fourth stimulus check is now in every U.S. state. You get it right now. The downward spiral in this economy and now in phase one is severe, but phase two is going to be far worse. In September, you got a leadway. Thank goodness you do. Thank goodness you're watching this video. Thank goodness you're trying to educate yourself. Thank goodness you're trying to prepare for your family and prepare for your household ahead of time as a good household member. Get these four stimulus checks in every U.S. state. Become a member. Go under the video and join right now. Join this channel. Get that membership newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time, via the YouTube alerts. And in the second half, we're going to go over these four stimulus checks in the recording. Plus, we'll turn to that breaking news about your benefits going up. That's good news as well. And finally, we'll look a little bit at what's happening with this downward spiral in this economy and that recession. We got a lot coming up in the second half. It's America's most beloved show at the midday. It's afternoons. And I'll see you back in 60 seconds. But first, here's a little bit about the member community page. As Afternoons LA continues in 60 seconds, see you back shortly with those big checks and that big raise for benefits. If you want money right now, not 5 days from now, and not 5 weeks from now, then reach out to the community page. The volunteers can help you find that money for rent and utilities. That's at news.la.com/community. The community page features a series of volunteers who are viewers like you. They can help you find rent, utilities, SNAP, food benefits, mortgage assistance, and help you with eviction moratorium questions as well. Their Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram individuals reach out to them and indicate the city and state you're from, and they'll get back to you shortly. That's a community page. Volunteers working for you, viewers helping one another. Stay with LA for more. Join LALATE Daily for the excitement of the new LALATE live daily. The excitement starts on mornings LALATE at 9 a.m. Home LALATE returns at 11 a.m. daily. And then Afternoons LALATE at 1 p.m. Join us daily as the excitement continues live from Santa Monica on LALATE. And the excitement continues right now for June 15th, 2022 from the shores of Santa Monica, California. Good afternoon. I hope you're good. Jay Powell speaking minutes ago about your interest rate hike of 3/4 of a basis point at that June FOMC meeting. Here we go. 3/4 of a basis point is not a walk in the park, and 3/4 is likely to come thereafter, says analysts and myself. We'll be going over the latest on that in the second half of this video, but first we're going to get those big checks. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. Go right in this video right now and click the link to get that incredible newsletter that everyone's talking about. Purple Hawk, Purple Power, Calcino VIP, become one today. And get ready for that fourth stimulus check in every U.S. state, and we're going to go over those checks starting right now. Back in the month of March, the viewership of this channel, who was so smart, so good, so on top of the ball, said, LALATE, you know what? You taught me something really clear a long time ago. When times are good, get money. Don't wait for times that are bad to get money. So you're not going to wait for a recession to get stimulus. You're going to get the money right now before there's a recession. You're not going to wait to September when I'm telling you it's really bad. You're going to get the money right today. But the viewers were even better than that. You said back in March, go get me some fourth stimulus checks, LA. And I did. Lots of them. And they're still around. And I gave them a lettering system. Check A, check B, check C. A fourth stimulus check has been in every U.S. state since March. You just heard that? You've never heard that before? You just found this channel? You did not know that a fourth stimulus check is in every U.S. state? Well, that should be the fire underneath your feet. You did not know that there's an $80,000 fourth stimulus check in your state, and you just found this channel, and you just heard it today? Well, this should be fire under your feet to move quickly. for the obvious reason that $80,000 forced stimulus checks don't sit around forever. It's a great payday, and you need to get it right today. We're going to go over each of these checks, starting with the very first one right now. But first, let's go over eligibility. I'm big on eligibility. I want most of my viewers to qualify for the items, so I get the items that are broad eligibility and big amounts of checks. I need you to have big checks so that you're financially independent for a very long time. $600 checks, $300 checks are a waste of time, people's time. They'll get the check, they'll spend it in 1-2 weeks, and they'll be back and say, I need another check. I need you to have tens of thousands of dollars of checks, big checks. And let's get that first check right now. It's a check A. I call it check A. I give them lettering systems so you understand it's simply across the board. $6,500 to $12,000 forced stimulus check in every U.S. state. Single individual, $75,000 or less, you go get it. Married couple, $150,000 or less, you go get it. If you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits or similar, go get it. It's called the Homeowners Weatherizing Grant Check. How do you get it? Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Go right in that membership newsletter, Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time via the YouTube alert system. Go right down to that newsletter to find Check A. Has an online link for an online website. It goes into the nationwide website. You choose your state. You choose the weatherizing grant, and you apply. $6,500 to $12,000. Wouldn't you like that? Of course you would. And then we're going to go to Check B. A $15,000 to $80,000 forced stimulus check. You're going to pounce for this one as well. Single individual, $75,000 less, go get it. Married couple, $150,000 less, go get it. It's called the Homeowners Grant Check. And if you're on benefits, SSI, SSDI, go get it as well. Step 1, subscribe. Step 2, become a member. What are you doing? What are you waiting for? Go under this video. All the people in the live chat with a hawk behind their name, they're members. Thousands of new members a day. Thousands of members across the board, hundreds of thousands of viewers on this channel. Become a member today. Go right in that membership newsletter and go down to Check B and pounce. But you're not going to stop there. You're going to go get Check C. Check C is a wonderful $2,000 check in every U.S. state. On average, $2,000 a month over 12 months. Many viewers have gone up to $45,000. This is for rent and utilities and mortgage assistance. It's for my renters, and it's absolutely incredible. Check C dates back to the very first days of this channel in December 2020 when viewers said, LALATE, I need money. Can you find me money? It was the thick of the pandemic. People needed assistance, and I looked high and low, and I found those checks. Found them. People needed the money really badly. It was December, and there was not a lot of money at the time. Then it became third stimulus, and it got a lot more funded under third stimulus, and now it's the residue of that third stimulus. Viewers have pounced and listened and done really well on it. And here are the success stories. $20,000 to $30,000. Would you like $30,000 for your rent? I'm sure you would. Go get it like Elizabeth did. Would you like $15,000 for your utilities like Mark's brother-in-law got? You better pounce and get it like he did. Snap, his brother-in-law's gained $25,000 a year over 10 years. That's $250,000. How about combos? A combination of these items. Nisi was at $23,000. Now she's at over $50,000 approximately. Mark, he was at $32,000. I told Nisi go get other sums of money. I told Mark go get other sums of money. Don't stop. I tell you the same. Do not stop. Mark went from 32 to 50,000, from 50,000 to 100,000, from 100 to 166. Lorraine, she gets money every few days like Nisi. She's at 105 to 120. And there you go. How do you get those incredible check Cs? You become a member, go into the membership newsletter, and go right down to see where to call, what to say, and how to say it, and pounce. And you do this right away. Let's recap a couple things. Step 1, go under the video. Hit that subscribe button right now. There's a subscribe button. Hit it. Then there's a little bell. Make sure the bell's set to all notifications. Hit it right now. Step 3, become a member. The link is under the video. It says join now and become a member. And then go through that newsletter and go in there and apply. Pounce and pounce. And do this day in, day out. A personal message I want to sort of go off script just for a second here is that it's very important that you follow the newsletter specifically and precisely. So don't do a version of the newsletter. The newsletter has worked for so many years and so many manners because it's very specific as to what to do. For example, I went and read on the back of a bathroom stall that there's no forced stimulus check in Oklahoma. Why are you reading news on the back of a bathroom stall? I asked my friend Sophia on her front porch, do you know if there's any money for rent in our state? No, there's not. What are you wasting your time with that? So I didn't do anything. Don't ask Sophia. Does she have a YouTube channel? Don't ask Sophia. You need to literally follow along with the newsletter very specifically and where to do. For example, in the case of Check C, I tell you about the 15 places to call. If you call one place, you're not following the newsletter. In the case of Check A, if you're picking up the phone and calling for Check A, no, in the newsletter it says apply for Check A via the link. You need to follow along very carefully, and you gotta get the money every few days. Get money today, get money tomorrow, get money after that. Keep on getting the money. The great news is that we have a leeway. We have advance notice of that big problem coming to this economy by September. And you can do this now. Imagine the wonders of you watching this channel and getting the wonderful information ahead of time of where we're going, so that I'm preparing you for that horizon. You can't wait 2 months. You can't wait 2 weeks. You can't wait 2 days. You got to become a member today and go right in and start getting these checks. Now, the newsletter for members has a new added feature. The new added feature is the explanation of that raise of your benefits if you're on SSI, SSDI, veterans benefits, RB, and more. It's under the Fistimous part of the newsletter, because your benefits are confirmed going up. I added this to this newsletter starting last night because it is a sort of complicated calculation, and I want you to see it written form in addition to me explaining to you right now about what's going on. I always talk about swapping COLA for inflation. Why? Because that would raise your benefits up. Your benefits were dependent upon COLA as the benchmark last December, so your benefits went up 5.9%. If they remain dependent upon COLA, then we have great news, because the Social Security's actuary has announced that based upon his mathematical prediction, it's a prediction, that your benefits are at least going to be going up 8% starting next year, in addition to the 5.9%. Wow, this is really great news. Now, let me explain this to you, but slow it down very quickly. What's happening here? Your benefits go up every year based upon COLA. The COLA is dependent upon another number. COLA is dependent upon another number. That other number is the CPI-W. Sound familiar? Yeah, it sounds like CPI. Why does it sound like a CPI? Because it's a part of the CPI number. Again, that major number released last Friday was the CPI. It was an inflationary number, 8.5% growth of inflation month to month. CPI-W, which is a subsection of CPI, is the number that is used to determine COLA. But in which months? The months of July, August, and September for the CPI-W determines your COLA that is applied to your benchmark in December that year. So this is very interesting. How high would the CPI-W be in July, next month, August, the month after that, and September as a subsection of CPI, with JPOW doing 3/4 of a basis rate increase today and some type of other increase in July? He doesn't have August because there's no meeting in August. This is brand new news tonight. What am I thinking? What I'm thinking is that it generally takes 30 days for whatever JPOW does to filter into the economy and have an impact. I generally say what he's doing is not going to have an impact, but let's assume it has some type of impact. 8.5% inflation currently right now. So if whatever JPOW is doing right now works in some little regard, then maybe it'll be felt in July or late July, early August. How much would it bring it down? Not a lot. It's not going to bring down inflation to 1%, but it likely would bring it down from, let's say, 8.5% maybe to, something. Now, if JPOW, what he did today, does not work, and inflation is higher, then that CPI-W for July would not be 8.5% or 8%. It may be higher. Let me give you the reaction on the news. So the chief actuary at Social Security, his official statement, this is their official statement, is that he believes that based upon the current projections of where the Wall Street numbers are right now, that he believes the CPI-W will be close to an 8% raise of your COLA bench as your number in December. That means your benefits will go up 8% next year. Wow. An independent group called the Social Security, is called the Senior Citizens League of America. They believe the numbers actually be higher. It's going to be about 8.6%. 8.6%. I'm saying that if Jay Powell, what he's doing right now does not work, does not bring inflation down, because inflation is caused by gasoline, and raising interest rates doesn't bring gasoline down, that's pretty obvious, then I believe that the July, August, and September CPIW number may be closer to 8.9%. And if I'm right, we'd likely see this in about July. We'd likely see this in about July or August. If it is 8.9%, that would be even more to raise your benefits. Wow. I'll explain more about this tonight on Evenings LALATE in prime time, but boy, a lot to go over. Meantime, we have a lot of other concerns across the land. We have all the concerns about where labor is as unemployment surging, housing, auto, and travel about to go bust as the downward spiraling of them continues. We have individual industries really badly hurt. Crypto is becoming valueless. Did you look at Ethereum today? Ethereum is about to break under 1,000. Break under 1,000? I mean, some analysts were saying Ethereum was going to go to $10,000 by December. Ethereum go to $900. Bitcoin is heading down to 21,000 or 20,000 by the time of tonight's recording. Crypto is literally imploding, and that is one of the major cross sections of the U.S. economy. And with all this, what does it mean for your wallet? You got to get those checks. You got to get those checks. Tonight, we're going to go over more about these checks and the other breaking news and the reaction to Jay Powell, because, again, Jay Powell just spoke minutes ago. We do not have complete reaction. Initially, Wall Street is up. It may turn for the negative afterwards. I'll have the latest update on that tonight at 5 o'clock in Pacific Standard Time for the brand new June 15th broadcast tonight. Step 1, subscribe to this channel. Step 2, become a member. Step 3, get that incredible newsletter Monday through Friday, 7 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. And for the shores of Santa Monica, California, good afternoon. God bless. I'll see you tonight in prime time. I don't want you to miss any show. Make sure you subscribe. Tell your friends and family, come on over. Tell them this is the channel that's getting you prepared for the financial downturn of this economy. He's getting all the predictions right, and he's getting people money. I'm on board. You're on board. It's afternoon.